going on, Jerome? So Brian Flores is back for year 3, and you know that Kwesi and company just want to get Flores as many toys as possible, and they've done that. They've revamped the pass rush and defensive line, brought back Murph, brought in Isaiah Rodgers, as well as brought in guys like Jeff Okudah, and even though they lost Cam Beasley-Bynum, re-signed Theo Jackson, Harrison Smith is back for one more year, but what if I told you the Vikings could potentially be looking at a absolute stud safety at the back end of the first round? Enter Nick Emmanwori from the University of South Carolina. Now, we talked about Emmanwori a lot. I mean, basically, he's 6'3" Bob Sanders. Yeah, he's Cam Chancellor adjacent and would definitely bring an edge on the back end of that defense, and it would be glorious, right? So he's been a name that's been associated with the Vikings quite a bit, and it's almost like was a couple years ago. No, was it 2020? No. Either way, it was AJ Epinesa coming in from Iowa. Every single mock draft, AJ Epinesa. Then different years, Yader Gross Matos from Penn State. And it just got repeated over and over and over again that I actually think that they were on the team. But Emmanwori definitely would not mind that at all. Long story longer. So Bruce Feldman, grand poobah of college football, fantastic writer, very well connected, and his opinion has a lot of weight. So every year he releases a mock draft, and he talks to NFL scouts, he talks to college administrators, talks to everyone. So he's very dialed in, and mock drafts are always about what you're hearing, as opposed to a big board or a power rankings of players, right? So definitely have put a lot of weight and stock in Bruce Feldman's opinions here. And of course, like we said, Vikings, Emmanwori, 24. Minnesota has some terrific options here to bring in a young star safety to learn from Harrison Smith. I think the Vikings will go for the freak athlete Emmanwori from South Carolina over Georgia standout Malachi Starks. The 6'3", 220-pound Emmanwori put on an awesome display at the Combine, vertical leaping 43 inches, broad jump 11.6, running 4.38, 40 with a great 10-yard split to back up a staggering amount of production in the SEC. He made 88 tackles with 4 interceptions and 2 pick sixes in 2024. Now, he mentions Stark specifically, and so I actually consider Jahdae Barrett more of a utility defensive back as opposed to a straight up corner, more of a safety. But I mean, Starks, I know they didn't test the best, right? But his production on tape is certainly there. But I understand if you're going to bet on traits. I mean, Emmanwori is that freaking dude. Emmanwori gets compared to former Seahawks enforcer Cam Chancellor because of his size, but former Cardinal star Adrian Wilson, A-Dub, a 5-time Pro Bowler, is a better comp, according to South Carolina DC Clayton White. Well, of course he would say that. White played at North Carolina State with Wilson, who had similar size and was more of a dynamic athlete than Cam Chancellor. I just remember like the viral video before viral videos of Adrian Wilson, just like jumping over like a 4-foot box, 6-foot box jump, something like that. Something crazy. Inside the Gamecocks program, Emmanwori is known as Nick the Eraser. As freakish as Emmanwori is, his coaches say the things that impress them most are his football IQ and ability to retain information. Quote, he's as big as some defensive ends in college, which is kind of fair. I mean, Mike Green and Emmanwori are similar sizes, which is hilarious. He's got so much range, it gives you a lot to worry about. There's some inconsistency there with him on film, but you just don't see guys this size or are this athletic. And again, it speaks to how connected Feldman is, because he's talking to South Carolina's DC, someone in the Gamecocks program, as well as an opposing SEC offensive coordinator. So there's lots of different opinions out there. And Feldman talked about his absolute freakish combine. I mean, certainly checks all the boxes physically. 10 out of 10 with RAS, and you're good to go in that regard. And production-wise, like, he was just all over the place. 3-year starter for South Carolina, just racking up and stacking up tackles. Had four picks in 2024, including 2 pick sixes. So it's just he's getting things done in a myriad of ways, and just having that physicality, that high football IQ on the back end, you know that's going to strike a guy like Brian Flores' fancy, because not only is the scheme complex, it really relies on communication. It really relies on high football IQ. All right, so you can't just be an athlete on the back end of that defense. And Emmanwori has a chance to learn from Harrison Smith for a year, has a chance to compete with Theo Jackson as well as Josh Metellus. And frankly, I think that Emmanwori could take on a Metellus-type role in terms of his versatility. But either way, like, he would be an absolute dynamite addition to the Vikings secondary. And I know at a certain point, you sort of get mock draft fatigue, where you just see the same name over and over and over and over again. But There's a reason where Emmanwori, that's where he potentially could be picked. I think he might be able to go into the teens. I think the Dolphins can make some sense, but if he's there at 24, just don't overthink it. Like, there's a fistful of players at 24. Emmanwori is one of them. For me, Siobhan Revell is in that mix. Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan, Gray Zabel. They're just like, hey, if you have to pick, if you can't trade down, just take one. And you're good to go in that regard. But your thoughts are thoughts. Bruce Feldman, Grand Poobah, college football, mocks Emmanwori to the Vikings. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, his thoughts, comment section. You guys are the best you know what to do. Skol, production value.